believe that justice may be upheld by the law, and by meaning that it must be presented with evidence that can be validated. Now, say, for example, if Prime Minister Najib were to resign, what is it going to be like in the situation in Malaysia? That's my first question. You can just give some comments. Second question is, there's too many story of sadness, story of losing hope, story of fears in the right of Malaysia regarding the one MDB, the economic situation, the political issues. Can you give us a word or two for inspirations to make us wanted to go back to Malaysia to give a better Malaysia, especially for the youngsters here. A lot of overseas students coming here. And for example, like me, I never want to go back. And I wanted to go back, and I must have a reason for that. The third question, forgive me being a little bit naive because I'm just entering to understand about the politics of Malaysia. Is there any chance for the DAP to work together with UMNO in the future so that, this is just a suggestion, the beauty of the Penang city can be duplicated to other cities as well? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll answer the last question first. DAP work with UMNO, no. Just as DAP will not work with MCA, DAP will not work with Gerakan, DAP will not work with the other Barisan Nasional component parties. As I said earlier, you either stand on principle or you don't stand at all. And it is impossible to work for Barisan Nasional when they can condone corrupt practices. Look at the AG's report. We have to talk about what we expose. The Auditor General's report is a litany of shame and abuses, and yet no action is done to correct them. Year in, year out, you see the same wrongdoings and offences being repeated again and again. And why? Because it's systemic. It all goes down to the top, goes up to the top. If the top does not have the political will, then I don't think there's any hope. When you talk of political will, it cannot just be translated into words, it must be translated into deeds. There must be institutions in place if you want to talk about fighting corruption and abuses of power. For instance, public declaration of assets, open competitive tenders, banning family members of government leaders from doing business with government. So no more cows and condos scattered. Whistleblower Act, protecting those who are exposed rather than punishing them. And I think these are institutional checks and balances that must be implemented. And up to today, you know, the Prime Minister talks about fighting graft, but yet he refuses to compel his ministers to publicly declare their assets. Their reasons is what? Oh, you may put them under danger. If they declare their assets, they may be endangered. Because people know how much they own, then they will be in danger. Why? Because they own too much. You know, in Penang we do public declaration of assets. Myself, Chow, you know how much we own. Yet, so far so good lah. So, difficult, unlikely. And at the same time, they look at dividing Malaysians rather than uniting Malaysians. We look at uniting Malaysians. We believe that our diversity is our strength. We believe that our constitution should be the guide towards national issues and questions. For them, no. They serve to divide, and they serve to distract our attention from the real issues of the day. Lately, MC gave out a ruling. Don't go and spread rumours about one NDB, or else we'll punish you. I mean, what is this? Why is it that exposing corruption is seen to be wrong? I think that is where we differ on principle. Too big a gap to have any possibility of working together with UMNO and BN, even though you say we should replicate. But can you replicate the success of Penang under a Barisan Nasional government? You cannot, because the basis of Penang's success is built on institutional checks and balances. Not because we have a Lim Guan Eng here, not because of Chao Kuan Yew here, because we implement these institutions. Rule of law, as I said, respecting the rights of the people, for accountability and transparency. I think this is what makes Penang different. Number two, on what was it you were mentioning about 1 MDB. Let's say if the Prime Minister resigns, what is the future, isn't it, Vincent?
Yes. What is it going to be like?
Some say you get the Prime Minister to go on leave, Muhyiddin takes over, just only a question of musical chairs, no difference. That's why I say that the first step, let him go on leave so there can be an independent and neutral investigation. But number two, there must also be a longer term plan. You must have fresh elections. Because there can be no alternative towards a new government. UMNO is beyond redemption. Barisan Nasional cannot save Malaysia when it cannot save even itself. Second, and then the final question, you talk about what hope is there for Malaysians in general, especially those who are overseas. I'll be very frank here. I cannot ask you to go back home to Malaysia. You look at our ringgit and what you're being paid now, too big a difference. The appeal and the attractiveness of that gap, income gap, cannot be breached. I mean, let's be realistic. But what I can promise you is this: we will continue to work to make Malaysia more and more attractive, so that even if you cannot come back to Malaysia immediately, you may want to come back sometime in future, or at least consider that Malaysia will be your final home. But for heaven's sake, no matter what, retain your right to vote.
Yes.
Because if you lose that right to vote, then you will not have any say in changing Malaysia for the better. Now we believe that Penang can be a beacon of hope. What we have done so far in the short span of 7 years, over the last 7 years, every year we have recorded a budget surplus. Whereas in that 7 years, the federal government has recorded a deficit annually. Over the last 7 years, our surplus amounted to 453 million ringgit. Not much, 453 million ringgit, which is much more than the surpluses recorded by the previous Barisan Nasional government for the last 50 years. For the last 50 years, they recorded a surplus of 373 million. Whereas for us, in 7 years, we recorded a surplus of 453 million. 7 years, we have done better what they've done in 50 years. At the same time, we reduced our debt by 90%. We are almost debt-free. We can be debt-free today, tomorrow even. But then you must owe a little bit of money lah. Else the federal government don't want to give you any money. You got no debt or offer I give you money, isn't it? So you must maintain some money there lah, some debt there. So at least you have a right to request and for financial aid. So Penang has succeeded despite nearly no resources, solely relying on the ability of the people of Penang. No natural resources, relying on talented people of Penang, we can achieve so much. Just imagine if we can combine both natural resources and the industry, the energy, the expertise and the entrepreneurship of all Malaysians, best represented by you, the cream de la cream, the best and brightest. Imagine that the potential of Malaysia becoming a great nation. We can be great provided we have leaders who have that same vision. And I think Barisan Nasional has outlived its usefulness. The time has come. The time has come for change. Thank you.